Hello and welcome to The Local Campaign, helping voters make an informed choice in the upcoming municipal election. I'm your host, Haley Zimak. Tonight we have the Waterloo Ward 1 debate. Waterloo's first ward is located in the city's southwestern end. It is bordered by Fisher-Holman Road on the east, Columbia Street West to the north, Herbsville Road to the west, and University Ave West to the south. Some features within the ward are the Westvale neighborhood, Regency Park, and the boardwalk. There are 5 candidates vying for the Ward 1 council seat, and they are Leah Lay, Adam McCarthy, Sandra Hanmer, Rob Parent, and Reiner Neufeld. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to speak and a 1-minute rebuttal. Speaking order was drawn before the debate, so with their opening remarks, here is Leah Lay.
Thanks for Rogers TV. Thanks for all the candidates here. Thanks for viewers at home. My name is Leah Lay. I'm running for City Council of Ward 1. I came to Waterloo as an immigrant 18 years ago. Our community has taught and educated me the way it is. We treat each other with respect, integrity, dignity, and accountability. I have chosen to raise my family at Waterloo because I'm concerned with the education of my child, because I love Waterloo. I graduated with a master's degree in accounting. I understand how the finance of the city works. I'm professionally trained to be a good manager of the money we have earned. I'm also a local business partner with an international client base. I know how to manage a business and people. My combined skills with many years' practice will make a difference in this municipal election. Having talked with many individuals and groups in our neighborhood, I have found that communication and early engagement are the key to serve our residents. There has been a disconnection between the City Hall and our residents. I'm here to fix this problem. If you have a question, I will have an answer for you. I'm the first minority woman city councilor in the history of Waterloo. I am standing here tonight simply because this is my home. I want to reach out to our neighbor. I want to make our home more livable. Thank you.
Thank you, Leah. Adam McCarthy, your opening statements, please.
Yeah, I'd like to begin by thanking Roger, certainly for this opportunity, this ability to do some outreach with the people in the City of Waterloo, and in particular Ward 1, and my fellow candidates. I know what kind of sacrifice is involved, what kind of commitment is involved in a race like this, and I know that they've put a lot of effort and passion behind their campaigns moving forward, so congratulations to them. My name is Adam McCarthy, and originally when I first started the process of campaigning, I had to really go to my family and ask them a few key questions. And one of them obviously was, is this something that I should be doing? Is this something that you would support me with? The entire reason why I'm participating in this campaign as city councilor is for them. During my regular job, during the day, spend time as a high school teacher. I thoroughly enjoy the process of engaging the young people in developing their skills and their ability to become a success in the future. And being a father of 2 children, I also have had all kinds of pleasure watching them grow up in the Ward 1 community in the past 15 years. What's interesting about Ward 1 specifically are the kind of neighborhood associations and facilities and events and creativity and opportunities that exist for everybody that lives in that particular part of the community. Having already gone to a number of doors during this campaign and speaking with residents throughout Ward 1, I can tell you that it's absolutely something that people are engaged with. We, all the candidates, I believe, really want everyone to participate in this process, and hopefully they can continue sharing their ideas with us so that we can bring them forward to the table.
Okay, thank you, Adam. Sandra Hanmer, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Haley, and thank you, Rogers, for hosting this session for us this evening. I am Sandra Hanmer. My family and I have lived in Ward 1 for over 25 years. Our 4 daughters attended Mary Johnson Public School, Centennial Public School, and Sir John A. Macdonald Secondary School. While the girls participated in many of the City of Waterloo's programs such as synchronized swimming, diving, soccer, and hockey, my husband and I were great supporters and coaches. I value and bring to a commitment of community to everything I do. Volunteers really do make a difference. I believe that so many important things just wouldn't happen if we didn't have volunteers to help it out. I have volunteered in many capacities within the Waterloo Girls Minor Hockey Association, Waterloo Girls Minor Soccer, Kitchener-Waterloo Synchronized Swimming Club, KW Diving Club, Heart and Stroke, Family and Children's Services, Grand River Hospital, and Kids Ability Board. I've also been a member of Prosperity Council, Waterloo Region. I have been honored by the City of Waterloo 6 times with the Volunteer of the Year Award. Professionally, I bring a wealth of experience from working in health, social services, and the disability sectors, both in the region, provincially, in Canada, and internationally. Currently, I am an executive in residence with Capacity Canada, where I have the privilege of working with innovative social entrepreneurs who are developing programs, products, and services that really do make an impact in our community. I was honored to receive the Oktoberfest Outstanding Businesswoman of the Year Award in 2008. I intend to use my professional and volunteer experience to develop the best approaches to creatively handling the issues and opportunities facing our city while ensuring the interests of Ward 1 are represented. Our Waterloo did not happen by chance. Thoughtful, hardworking, committed, innovative people together made Waterloo what it is today. As we look forward to 2020, I want to be part of the future of Waterloo by representing you as your Ward 1 representative. Thank you.
Thank you. Rob Parent, to you now, please.
Hi, and thank you as well to Rogers for allowing us this time to present ourselves and our backgrounds to the audience. And I wish to thank the colleagues, not opponents, colleagues that stand with me today. And also acknowledge also the volunteers here at Rogers. Again, volunteers showing their commitment to the community and all things that are involved. Respectfully, and having served as Ward 1 councillor for the past 4 years, Bob Maven has chosen not to seek re-election in this fall's municipal election. As a result, Ward 1 Waterloo will elect a new councillor in council's first sitting come December. Given that all 5 candidates are seeking to serve office for the first time, voters will need to determine which candidate best represents their community, not on experience per se, but on another set of criteria. Among the many prerequisites required to be an effective councillor, there are 4 that, in my judgment, stand out. 1, participation in one's community and professional associations. 2, consistent long-term attendance and observation at City Hall Council meetings. 3, being available to community and neighborhood during and outside regular working hours. And 4, long-term residency in the ward you seek to represent. My membership in West Vale Community Association, KW Optimist Club, KW Chamber of Commerce, and
last but not least, we have Reiner Neufeld.
Yes, good evening, and thank you to everyone for coming out tonight. My name is Reiner Neufeld, and I'm running to represent Ward 1 in Waterloo. And to tell you a little bit about myself, I am the first generation born here in Canada of German Mennonite immigrants who came to Canada looking for better opportunities and greater freedom. And I was raised here on their story of struggle and learned to appreciate the opportunity that we have here in Waterloo. It was here in Waterloo that I was able to stay at home, save money while going to Wilfrid Laurier University. It was here in Waterloo that I was able to get a job and pay my way through university without taking on any debt. And it was here in Waterloo where I met my wife, Melanie, and we're now raising our 2 sons, Connor and Dylan. And for the past 13 years, I've been working as a real estate broker and serving families at their kitchen table in helping them make what is usually the largest financial decision of their lives. And helping people in this way, one needs to understand that people work hard every day to tap into the economic opportunities in the area. And even here in Waterloo, life is not always easy. So when it comes to proposals on how to spend the people's money, all councillors need to remember how hard families have worked to generate the city revenue, but at the same time, we should fearlessly invest in sensible improvements to the quality of life and the quality of opportunity we have here in Waterloo. A few words on some of the issues. In Westvale, petty theft and graffiti is an issue. I'll continue to advocate for the Westvale and Beechwood residents when it comes to the Waterloo Region landfill. And finally, I think everyone in this forum must give their position on the development at 508 Beechwood Drive that would place a 12-story building in the middle of a low-density neighborhood. I do not support the current proposal by the developer, and I call on my colleagues to give their opinion. Residents in Beechwood West and all of Ward 1 can be confident that I will be advocating for a sensible development in the future. And I look forward to discussion on these topics with everybody. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Reiner. Thank you for joining us. That is the closing of the opening remarks here as we discuss Ward 1 in the city of Waterloo. So we are pleased to welcome now Adam Jackson, who is a reporter with the Waterloo Chronicle. Adam, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And your first question, please.
So this question involves 508 Beechwood Drive. One of the issues that will need to be handled in the next term is the proposed 12-story development at 508 Beechwood Drive. Neighbors have rallied against the development, and the developer is asking for a number of setback variances. How do you plan to approach this specific issue?
Okay, and just a reminder, each candidate has 2 minutes to respond. You will be shown a 30-second flashcard, and after that, the time is up. So Adam, we can start with you, please.
Yeah, it's my understanding that the zoning process takes into account a number of different issues, letters from lawyers, from the developers, certainly concerns from citizens, and that process is fine. But at the end of the day, the representative on council from Ward 1 has to respect the wishes of the citizens in that specific ward. And it's quite clear to me that regardless of any other opinions in terms of taxation opportunities for the city or developing opportunities for folks that want to increase their revenues in terms of development, despite all those things, the people in the community itself, Ward 1 that we represent, are not interested in that particular project. For me personally, I think that aesthetically there are some other challenges, and I would hate to see a sweeping zoning acceptance that neglects those specific criteria.
Okay, thank you. Sandra.
Thank you. I think everyone realizes that for our city to grow, we no longer can grow out. We've run out of land. We need to be growing up. As I've spoken with individuals within Ward 1, there is an understanding that that needs to happen. But there is a but that goes along with that. Our planning processes need to take into account the uniquenesses of each of our neighborhoods and aesthetically put something in place that better reflects the character and culture of our particular environment. Specifically with 508, it has its challenges at being 13 stories in an area that is predominantly single homes or lower rise. So I'm hoping with the official plan that's being revamped and the much needed update to our zoning bylaws, that they will reflect not only what's needed for the developers and what's best in the interests of the community, but the uniqueness and culture of each of our areas, as well as focusing on how we integrate transit into all of those plans. And I look forward to further discussing that issue.
Okay, thank you. Rob, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, the proposed development 508, I've personally walked through that area with some of the community members, and certainly there is concern, and when at City Hall, their presentations were very forthright and very passionate, and the message quite clearly is they do not want any part of that. However, saying that, I think they also understand that there will be a compromise that will be needed and required. The developers have every legal right to develop their properties. The question is this an appropriate region to develop that property? And I think with the changes in the bylaws forthcoming, we don't know what they'll look like. I think you're going to see more of this kind of proposals to build high rises in what was traditionally residential areas. However, as Ward 1 councillor, I would do my best to make sure that whatever the result may be, it is a compromise where both sides can come out with a win-win, if at all possible in this case. But certainly that is an area that Beechwood is addressing for very much.
Okay, thank you. Reiner.
Yes, thank you. Yes, as I said in my opening statement, I'm against the current proposal. I've reviewed the proposal in partial, given that it's 400 pages. But from what I have read, the developer is asking for a number of exceptions to build this development as it stands now, with notably setback limits from the roadway, parking exceptions, green space exceptions, and a number of others. In fact, I remember reading that they argue that it fits with the neighborhood because it has brick. Well, yeah, but there is no other 12-story building in all of Ward 1 with the exception of the West Hill Retirement Residence. So in my view, this development is not cohesive with the neighborhood, and I have knocked on the doors of most of the residents in the surrounding area, and they're unanimously against it, and I think they would like for a representative from their ward to advocate for them. So that's what I plan to do.
Okay. And Leah?
I live right on Beechwood Drive, and I understand that the city has been grow taller and taller, reach the limit of its development. But I think this Beechwood driveway is just a residential road. We don't have any story that higher than the sixth building. So I think this doesn't reflect the need of our residents. We also understand that our city has been working very hard to come up a comprehensive bylaw. We hope that the city's comprehensive bylaw that will be happening September 10th will reflect the needs of our residents. This is just simply a residence road, and this high-rise building doesn't fit the needs of our residents.
Okay, thank you. Adam, your second question, please.
As development continues around Ward 1, what do you propose as the best way to improve public transit and encourage more people to get out of their cars and on foot, bicycle, or public transportation?
Okay, thank you. Sandra, start please.
Adam, that's a wonderful question, and transit is on everyone's mind. And how do we best integrate the various modes of transportation that we currently have? I think we need to make sure that our planning takes into account the bicycle paths, the walking paths, making sure that the GRT through the consolidation plan links us to the LRT, so that you can, if you want to bicycle or if you want to walk, you've got that ability to safely do that. Equally, if we're integrating bicycles with the buses or with LRT, we've got to make sure that there are safe places for people to put their bikes when they are finished, when they get there, and to safely move around all the transit. So going back to my earlier comment around growth in the city and the planning, I think that has to be taken into account with the official plan and the comprehensive bylaw review, that there is enough space for green spaces. It integrates our paths as we have and our existing transportation units. Thank you.
Thank you. Rob.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, there has been a willingness and an enthusiasm to create alternative transit modes, and cycling being one of them. We see it more and more. Money set aside, infrastructure set aside for cycling, and this is a good thing. If you go to Vancouver, for example, and if you've been to Amsterdam, you've seen the success that some of these cities have when creating cycling paths. But the key, I think, is safe cycling, and there is still hesitancy among many to travel on the cycling paths that are on the major roadway. So hopefully in our ward, there's more integration with cycling paths, off-road, trails, paths, that sort of thing, where confidence can occur among new bike riders and experienced bike riders. Yeah, in terms also of the perhaps the LRT and the bus routes, the integration, right now in our ward, we don't see a lot of connection and convenience for people to take the bus into downtown, uptown Waterloo. So I would say perhaps the bus routes have to be adjusted perhaps to accommodate, which they hope will be an increase in ridership. Okay, so yeah, so integration of the cycling and the bike paths are certainly important in Ward 1. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. And Reiner.
Yes, thank you. So yeah, I agree with my colleagues, all of the above. We have to tackle the issue across the board on transit. I don't think there's one particular solution that is going to be the magic bullet. But specifically, absolutely, we need to see some protected corridors for active transit users. And that's something I'd like to see invested in. If we don't if we don't allow for infrastructure investment, whether it's in terms of bus transit or active transit via corridors, we do risk bisecting the city to some degree by having the uptown be its own entity and suburban areas being served by large box stores. Basically what I'm hearing from Westvale neighborhood residents and Beechwood residents is that they just feel like they can't get downtown, and it's tough to park there when they go with their cars. So we just have to better serve those residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Leah.
Traffic has been always a challenge in our ward, especially Beechwood and Up Beechwood and West Beechwood. We just don't have a bus route that can connect us to the downtown and LRT and ION. I personally encourage my son walk to school every day and walk home every day. I think it's a big issue, and we need to work closer with the regional part to make sure we will get this transportation smooth and safer for everybody living Ward 1.
You know, sometimes I think we forget that not only are we candidates, but we're also taxpayers. We're part of the community, and we have spent in the region of Waterloo a great deal of money investing in the LRT. And in as much as it's not operating at 100% yet, and despite the fact there are a number of people who have been in the past against the LRT, we have it. So what do we do now in order to take advantage of it? Certainly we've already discussed the fact that in Ward 1 it's maybe difficult to get to the downtown area. People who maybe aren't cyclists may or may not be convinced to take a bicycle if there are less parking spots. I'm not entirely convinced of that. But I can tell you that as taxpayers who have paid for the LRT, we need to have some kind of program motivation to get the LRT ridership started as a routine for people in our community. We need to take advantage of this investment, and it may mean looking at, through the region and through the city and through the individual wards, some way of offering some kind of rebate or opportunity for riders in the first, say, 3 months, 6 months, to get a discount rate in order to make the LRT part of their morning and afternoon habit. Something like that that's outside of the box are the kinds of ideas that people have been coming to me with when I go door to door, and I like to embrace those and see if we can explore those opportunities.
Okay. Adam Jackson is a reporter with the Waterloo Chronicle, and he joins us this evening to ask our candidates questions. Adam, your next question, please.
There have been a few complaints over the last number of years of there being a disconnect between the city and residents. Do you think the city needs to improve its communication? If so, what is your plan to do so?
And Rob, we'll start with you.
All right, thank you, Adam, for the question. Yeah, that seems to be a common theme, going door to door and talking to residents. Oftentimes their concerns aren't always about things that you would think of in terms of snow, leaf, that sort of thing, but it is in fact, a lot of them suggest and say that no one's listening at City Hall. I call, I get attitude, so that's not uncommon for some. To remedy that, I would suggest that as councillors, we'll have to make it our priority to listen as close as we can. It could be informal meetings, invitations, website, Twitter announcements saying that there is a meeting happening, you're invited. So have these kind of formal, informal get-togethers with constituents from the ward to encourage that kind of breakthrough when it comes to the frustration that people have in terms of not connecting with the people at the City Council. And I think I would suggest that perhaps sometimes the councillors, they are the first line of defense, if you will, or the first line of information, but a lot of the information does come from the staff. And so perhaps councillors in future will discuss and talk more with the staff, you know, the developers, the accountants who make many of the decisions that affect the quality of life in Ward 1. So I would suggest that more communication among the public and the staff at City Hall perhaps can be a solution to that issue.
Reiner?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, with regards to communication from city staff to residents, I've noticed specifically around the 508 Beechwood development that residents are feeling totally cut off in the process in terms of understanding what's going on. Most residents that I've spoken to there have no awareness as to where the development process is at, specifically in this case with regards to 508 Beechwood. And yeah, I do think that this is an issue with regards to staff partially, but access to information is available online, but it is confusing. And in my own research for this development, for example, it takes time, and I keep discovering new pages on the city site. So organization on that front is difficult, but also, yeah, I agree with my colleagues. Our counselors needs to be the front line, I think, talking to people, going out and meeting them at their door so that we can have them understand what's going on. Thanks.
Okay. Leah.
Like I have mentioned in my opening statement, the miscommunication and the disconnection between the City Hall and our residents has been an issue in our Ward 1, and I'm concerned about that. That's why I'm here. I want to fix this problem. I think as a city councillor of my ward, I represent them. I'm the ears and eyes of our residents, and that's why I need to be here to follow through their questions, their inquiries, and their concerns. If they have questions, anybody who has a single questions, I should just follow through them and give them answer from the beginning to the end until they heard their voice.
Okay, thank you. And Adam.
As a voter, I've always wondered why I only get to see the candidate during the election process. I always thought it would be kind of innovative if randomly the candidate, the winner at any level of government, were to knock on my door and just randomly ask me my opinion on various issues, and what kind of relationship that would solidify. And I really believe that that's something I'd like to try and do moving forward. Integrating into my schedule a regular time where I can just go to Ward 1 residents and spend some time outside of the election saying, this is what's going on. Do you have any questions? Do you have any concerns? Because we talk about quality communications, but what does that mean? Well, we can certainly get information through the internet, over a cell phone, over a conversation on a telephone, but there's something about face-to-face interaction that gets things, I think, resolved. And you may not necessarily be able to solve an individual's problem, but they always feel better when they know somebody is at least listening and perhaps helping them solve the problem if possible.
Okay, thank you. Sandra.
Thank you, Haley. I agree with my colleagues. Communication is a key issue no matter what you are doing, and trying to keep that as open, transparent, and accessible for everyone is pretty important. I agree that we need to, as councillors and as your Ward 1 councillor, provide those opportunities for residents to come forward with issues, ideas, and suggestions on how we can not only improve communication, but improve other aspects of the relationship. One of the strategies I'm really quite excited about is the neighborhood strategy that the council just approved in May. And I look forward to the opportunity in facilitating the rollout of that strategy. Ward 1 is very lucky to have neighborhood associations and home associations who really do fit the parameters of a connected community. And through that vehicle, I think we can help to advance the two-way communication that all of us want to see. It is a key piece of work that we will need to do over the next number of years, and I look forward to being part of that.
Okay, thank you all. Adam, your next question, please.
This next question is not related to Ward 1 specifically, but it is a major issue in the city. This past March represented the largest and most expensive St. Patrick's Day party in the Uptown Ward. The city right now has a plan to shut down or at least curtail the party in the next 5 years. Do you agree with that plan? If not, what is your proposal?
Okay, good question. Reiner, you get to tackle this one first.
Sure, yeah, thank you. With regards to the St. Patrick's Day party, obviously it comes at a lot of cost to the city with regards to additional police hours in terms of monitoring the situation. To me, the natural solution is to take advantage of it. Let's turn this into something that we can turn a negative into a positive, and maybe let's organize something, or even have an outside group come in and organize a party that is safe for everybody to attend, that they can buy tickets for. I've heard in passing that the previous party we had buses coming up from the States with students filled with them. So yeah, we just need to, I think, turn this into something that can be controlled, and the best way to do that is probably to make a official event of some kind, because I don't think it's going away. Thanks.
Okay. Leah, what do you think?
I think it's a good question. Everybody, cares about this. Like our colleague here said, I support that we can always turn negative things to a positive thing, as long as we can work closer with our residents and we hear their voice, we gather their concerns. I think we will have a solution for this, as long as we have heart and passion for our residents.
Okay, thank you. Adam?
I certainly agree to some extent with what Rainier has said. I don't support individuals who don't respect the law, but if there's an opportunity to make sure that they don't break the law in the first place, I'm all for that. To facilitate a sanctioned event seems to make a lot of sense. It could be a tourist opportunity. It could certainly control things safety-wise, but keep in mind that we need to have some kind of leadership behind this. We can't simply say, oh, well, let's have an organized party. Well, who is responsible for organizing it? Who sets the parameters? Who ensures the safety? So these are the kinds of questions that need to be answered and addressed in order for us to ensure that if there is going to be a continuing party, that it is controlled appropriately, but there is somebody at the end of the day who is responsible for the safety of the people who are involved.
For that. When a candidate is mentioned by name, or a candidate mentions another by name, they do get a 1-minute rebuttal. So Reiner, would you like to expand on your point?
Sure. Thanks for the time. So with regards to Adam mentioning my thoughts on the sanctioned party, let's just call it. Yeah, there was a lot of details where the rubber would need to meet the road. My feeling is that as I've been a student not too long ago, and this party is going to happen regardless of what we might try to do. I don't see how you can officially stop 10,000 students from gathering without some sort of insane response, police response that would get totally out of control. So let's roll with it and see if we can turn a negative into a positive. That's what I think. We'll figure out the details when it comes to that.
Okay, thank you. Sandra, your thoughts?
It is certainly a big issue, and this year was no exception when the numbers exceeded, I believe, 20,000, closer to 22,000. A reality for us, though, in this city is that 55,000 students are part of our economy every year. And so as we look at what is keeping our residents safe, the students are our residents for that time. So I agree with my colleagues that having something that may be sanctioned, that has good partnership between Waterloo Region Police Services, the city, as well as the universities, would go a long way to increase the safety for everyone involved in that event while turning it into a positive, as our colleagues have said.
Okay, thank you. And Rob, you get the last word on this one.
Okay. Well, I suppose being in Ward 1, where this issue isn't really up front, we can theorize as to what the best solution might be. I think one area that we do tend to overlook is the effect it has on the local residents who live there year-round. They seem to be the forgotten voices, and I think they should be part of, and hopefully they are part of, the solution should sanctions or other alternative arrangements be made. Yeah, it's true, they are a big part of our economy, and they bring their energy and their spending and all the things good with the students here. We wouldn't want to lose that. I would call upon perhaps the Chief Larkin to be more, for lack of a better word, forceful. I know we want to make nice with the kids, and we're students ourselves. But we do risk safety concerns. Emergency wards at hospitals are full up during that time, and that's a concern. However, having said all of that, I believe that they should still be welcome if we can manage it in a safe, pragmatic, economically wise way. Students are welcome in that area.
Okay, thank you. Chief Larkin is not here for a 1-minute rebuttal, so we will move on to another topic, shall we? Adam, go ahead, please.
With rental rates and home prices on the rise, what do you feel can be done at both the city and regional level to encourage the creation of affordable housing?
Okay, Leah, you'll start us on this one, please.
The principle and the value of our community begin with the housing. Affordable housing is something everybody cares. The graduates cares, hard worker, middle class cares. Everybody cares about this issue. We understand that the city have, reached its limit, go up and not out. So we need a policy. We need this understanding and support from the provincial or regional and city level to support this. We are here to get the voice out, to make sure we can find a way, like maybe return the business at Waterloo, and we get better financial shape, and we can build up more affordable house in our community.
Okay, thank you. Adam.
Yeah, we've already talked a little bit about some of the zoning issues in terms of development, and this continues that conversation because I think we have an opportunity as councillors to review the kind of commercial spaces, the kind of residential spaces, industrial spaces that we have to look at. Does this still make sense? Are we using zoning that is applicable 20 years ago, 50 years ago, or even longer? And once we take a look at that process and we see the kind of space that's not being utilized effectively, I think we can really have an opportunity to see the kind of areas where we might be able to develop and offer a lot more supply in terms of housing. And of course, if you've got a greater supply, then the prices naturally become a little bit more affordable. There's also an opportunity to engage, I think, a lot more in some of our local social organizations that provide opportunities but are limited by their funding because they're charitable organizations, as a chance to see if the city can't interact with them in some capacity, either through promotion, direct financial assistance, perhaps access to some areas that wouldn't normally be able to. So there's a lot of potential out there. We have to take a close look and see what we were able to do and not rely simply on the kind of zoning we've had in the past.
Okay, Sandra.
Thank you. That is a great question. Affordable housing, when we hear the word, we tend to think to the lower income and trying to make things accessible for the lower income. I challenge us, though, to think about affordable housing all the way through, all the years. Looking at recent grads right now, or those that are new into their careers, trying to find a home of their own is difficult. I think our planning needs to take into account a stock that allows people to get into the housing market easily, and whether that housing market is an apartment, a condo, a semi-detached, all of those pieces to get them started. And so if there are incentives or initiatives through the city that we can do to make it easier for people to get in, that is one piece. I think we need to look at some other innovative strategies. I was very intrigued by, I believe it's Vancouver, who are looking at what to do with individuals who are elderly in their homes, in large homes, aren't able to move into something else, and could there be some kind of share arrangement that allows support for the senior, but equally allows someone to be working and supporting a senior and saving so that they can move on to their own home. I think we do really need to be creative, and I think there are lots of opportunities for us to do that, to increase the affordable housing stock.
Thank you. Rob.
Okay, thank you. Well, it comes down to basic economics, supply versus demand. And as it stands now, the supply is not there, the demand is. And my question would be, where's this demand coming from? Is it migration from other provinces? Is it immigration? Is it the mental health issues, low income, those sort of considerations? So once we determine who are the potential tenants of low income housing and who needs to be housed, that's a good starting point. Having said that, as we know, with property values increasing, so do rent increases as well. And so that we have to square that circle in some way. Some of the, part of your question is what would some of the solutions be? Well, I understand that there is a movement at times to waive development fees, at least a percentage of development fees for developers if they dedicate certain amounts of their housing to low income. Secondly, the region, I think just recently forwarded or proposed a $25,000 forgivable loan for homemakers who are willing to set aside some of their property for those in need of low income. Thirdly, and this could be sensitive, is what about rent controls? Developers will often say to you that rent controls is preventing developers from increasing their rental stock. So those are some of the concerns and perhaps answers to help alleviate what potentially could be a housing disaster for low income needs.
Okay, thank you. And Reiner.
Yes, thank you. With regards to rental rates and affordable housing, well, I've been on the front lines in the real estate business for 13 years, and I've certainly watched over the past 2 to 3 years as the real estate market has exploded. And we've seen housing prices go up, as Rob has mentioned, and certainly rental rates go up across the board. This is not just in low-income housing. This is right up through the housing stock. And there's a lot of things to unpack in that issue, and what I'll say about it for now is that I think the current Waterloo rental housing bylaw is a good example of where our city makes no sense to me. For example, in a purpose-built triplex that was built according to building code and intentionally built as a 3-unit building, a landlord needs to obtain a license for each unit of the building as opposed to one license for the entire building. Ultimately, all of these costs get passed on to renters, increasing their rents. And furthermore, investors who are the ones behind new housing stock are pushed away from Waterloo. They don't want to invest here. They don't want to deal with the city bureaucracy with regards to Waterloo rental housing bylaw. I think we definitely need to be amending that. It's been something that has only benefited developers as far as I'm concerned. And I'd be happy to expand upon that with additional time. But I'm not sure exactly where the wasted space is. Some of my colleagues mentioned that we have wasted space in the city and we can just develop that. Certainly, I don't agree with that. And with regards to waiving development fees, I really don't think that makes sense either. Development fees go towards building the things we need, the infrastructure we need, as the population grows. So, you know, it's a complicated issue. And I guess I'll cut it there, but I got more to say on it.
Okay. And we do have time for one last question. So Adam, go ahead, please.
With the new provincial government, how do you plan on creating relationships and advocating on behalf of the residents of the city of Waterloo?
Okay, thank you. Adam, can you start us off?
Sure. Well, don't forget that in the city of Waterloo, we have an elected MPP, and it's certainly their responsibility to represent the citizens of our city. And that's really where it starts in terms of relationship building. They ideally have a sense of the pulse and concerns and questions that the citizens have, along with the individual councillors in the city of Waterloo and the mayor. And I think between all of these stakeholders, it's the responsibility of the MPP as well as the councillors to reach out to one another and find out what's the direction that the province is going, what's the direction that the individual neighborhoods are going, and are there any potentials for clashing in terms of various issues, and what can we do to resolve those specific issues. So for me, the key is to develop a relationship with the local MPP, whose job it is to represent the constituents that mirror some of the constituents that we have in Ward 1. In terms of provincial policy, there's only so much you can do if you are not part of that specific government. But again, if there are major concerns with the Ward 1, there is certainly opportunities to voice those concerns, not only through the MPP, but directly with the executive of the provincial government itself. So it would all depend individually on those case-by-case issues as they arise.
Okay, Sandra.
Great. Another great question. It certainly is all about relationships and communication. I agree with my colleague that we do have an elected representative for provincial government, and we do need to foster strong relationships. But before we can even get there, we have to have, as councillors and as the councillor of Ward 1, a good understanding and appreciation for our ward issues, our city issues, and then how those are impacting with what's happening at the province. So just as we talked about opportunities for communication, or whether you want to call it a heads up or an understanding of what's going on, you have to have that communication and that link going. I equally think to have the voice of the City of Waterloo heard, we need to work with the cities of Kitchener and Cambridge and the townships to make sure that the voice of the region of Waterloo is also being heard at the provincial level. So there are a lot of different moving parts in keeping that relationship going. But key to that is stepping out, having the understanding, knowing what their challenges are, and then being willing to offer ideas and suggestions and solutions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Rob.
Yes, thank you. Well, along with the colleagues, the same idea. We do have to communicate. We have to have two-way communication. It is up to us as ward councillors, regional councillors, to present to our MPPs and our MPs the issues of concern locally. They have a lot on their plate. They have a lot of towns and cities who with their handouts, and we have to be very strong and forceful and very specific and very clear as to what our needs would be. To do that, you want to set up, again, meetings of some sort, informal or formal. They do travel throughout a lot during their travels and campaigning. And it's up to us to, again, along with the mayors of the cities, to initiate those conversations and solutions. So we can't be vague, we can't be unsure, we have to be very specific in what our concerns are and offer solutions and hopefully find the compromise that will create a common good and a win-win situation in our ward. Thank you.
Thank you. Reiner?
Yes, thank you. So with regards to the provincial relationship, I think it's important to keep in mind that where we are in Ward 1 in the Waterloo region, we have multi-layered government from the municipal level to the regional level to the provincial level. And we don't operate in different spheres. This is all the same place. So we need to be advocating for our residents, to our local MPP, of course, but also the provincial government for things that we need in our area. Just because an election cycle has passed doesn't mean that it's not time to put pressure upwards to make sure that our residents are getting the appropriate attention from the provincial government. And that would be sort of my general theme on that, and that a lot of practical things could flow out from that, whether it's meetings or going to provincial parliament. But I'll cut it there, and thanks for the time.
Okay. And Leah?
I have learned that provincial, regional, and the city are separate government. We do not see the policy will not pass all the way from provincial to the city. As the City Council of Ward 1, I believe we are here to have a strong voice for our residents. We are here to communicate and collaboration with regional and the provincial to make sure our voice will be heard. And we are here to reflect the needs and the priority of our residents. As long as we can sit down and we can talk to each other and we have passion to serve our residents, we will have a solution on many, many issues and many, many questions in front of us.
Okay, thank you, Leah. Moving on now to closing statements. We now go backwards to forwards. So, Reiner, you will begin, please. Keep in mind that each candidate has up to 2 minutes for their closing statements. And Reiner, we can start with you. Thanks.
Great. Yeah, thank you. So as this discussion comes to a close, I can't help but just look back on my own life so far in the Waterloo region. I'm so grateful for the opportunities that we have here in Waterloo, the opportunity to tap into a thriving economy, the opportunity to live together in a diverse community with great neighbors that support each other, the opportunity to raise kids in a safe place. In closing, I want us all to remember how lucky we are to live where we do. Let's appreciate everything we have and move forward together towards an even better future. Thanks very much.
Thank you. And Rob.
Thank you. My commitment to you and Ward 1 is to advocate on behalf of citizens of Ward 1 to ensure their interests and concerns are heard and addressed at City Hall. And I emphasize ours as we're all in this together. The City of Waterloo is seeing exciting change at a rapid pace. Population growth, major investments in infrastructure, increasing density in the downtown core, cycling lanes, and of course the LRT. It is, to say the least, breathtaking, at times overwhelming. For many, such rapid changes are both welcome and positive. For others, particularly small business and new home buyers, it also represents a challenge. Such growth brings with it unintended consequences. Potential infrastructure levies, lease and rental rate increases for small to medium-sized businesses, to name just a few. Time does not permit me further detail, but I want to ensure voters these concerns will also be addressed in the new City Council. In closing, the future looks bright, and personally it's an exciting time to be at the forefront of decisions and conversations that will be moving the city and region forward in the next 4 years. And let's not forget those councillors of Ward 1 who came before us, who set the standard. Bob Maven, Scott Whitmere, two-time councillor before that, and as far back as Jan Dali as well. Okay, so thank you, and look forward to a prosperous Waterloo Ward 1. Thank you.
Thank you. Sandra.
Thank you again, Haley, and Rogers, for hosting these sessions. Adam, your questions were very intriguing and brought out a lot of the good issues. Thank you to all the candidates for putting your names forward, and thank you, most importantly, to our viewers for taking time to learn about the issues. Driving community innovation and commitment is all about listening, connecting, and being bold. With your input, I will focus on the issues that matter. I plan to use the positive example of Ward 1's neighbourhood and home associations to support the rollout of the City of Waterloo's new neighbourhood strategy. I will work hard to ensure that money being spent at City Hall reflects your needs and priorities, and that every dollar is used wisely. I will advocate for growth in our city that considers the needs of all residents, reflects the uniqueness of our neighbourhoods, and integrates our transportation systems and continues to foster the spirit of community. While healthcare is not an issue that the municipalities can really be involved in, we do need to advocate, and I will work with community leaders and other government officials to further develop integrated health services that are timely, accessible, support individuals and families, and address the unique needs of older adults and people with disabilities. At the council table, I will keep a laser-sharp focus on opportunities to best move us forward. All this can be done because together we will make the best decisions for Ward 1 and for our larger community. On October 22nd, I'm asking for your support and your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Adam.
When I first ran in Ward 1 in 2003, 15 years ago, I had, at the time, a lot of experience, a certain skill set, a background in education, in business, financial, computers, a lot of life experience, a great deal of passion for the ward, some great ideas from the people that I spoke with. And none of that has really changed. Obviously, over 15 years, the life experience has dramatically increased. But one thing that has changed is during that time, my wife and I have raised 2 children in Ward 1, and the whole family has benefited from the opportunities, the safety, the beauty, the variety of different adventures that are accessible in our particular ward. And we've seen a lot of change. Certainly the entire Iron Needles complex is a big part of that. So in as much as I continue to have the passion to give back to the community and to use my skills and my passion and my creativity to make a difference, at the end of the day, it all comes down to the kind of things I'm hearing at the door as people open the door and say, "Who are you?" My name is Adam McCarthy. I'm one of the candidates for City 1 Ward Councillor, and I want to hear what it is that you are passionate about. What kind of ideas do you have? What kind of concerns do you have? Do you love our community as much as I do? All the candidates here today have given their best to show a little bit about their background, their knowledge of the issues, their ideas. And now I challenge you at home to make an informed decision, to participate in the process, and we look forward to your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. And Leah.
Thanks for this great opportunity to let the residents at home to know us. I'd like to pass my best wishes to all my colleagues here. I wish you the best. Every day is a new page of my life. Every day I wake up with a bird chirping at my backyard. Every day I start my morning by walking my dog in the community. I'm so grateful that I have friendly neighbors, quiet streets, beautiful trails, and clear water. This is my home. This is our future. Together, we can make a safer, more interactive, and child-friendly neighborhood. On October 22nd, I do ask your support. Please come out and vote your first minority woman city councilor in the history of Waterloo. Thank you for your support.
Okay. And on that note, I would like to thank all the Ward 1 candidates for participating in tonight's debate. Thank you very much, as well as to Adam Jackson, who's taken the time to join us from the Waterloo Chronicle. Make sure to watch Rogers TV on the night of October 22nd, of course. We will have up to the minute local results. Thank you for watching, and good night.